I tell you one thing, I wish I had a lift axle. That would definitely help my fuel mileage a little bit. But I don't know. I've been thinking I might make like a poor man's lift axle. All right, I call this my poor man's lift axle. I did this a couple days ago, and as you can see, trailer's off the ground, or the wheels off the ground. It's pretty simple. I'll crawl into here. The only drawback is that I have to manually get in here and do everything. But as you can see, right there, I hooked the chain, and that's a 1/4 inch sheet metal right there. So that's or steel plate right there. So that's pretty tough. And then I just took the chain around the axle and then used a binder. So the one thing I had to do was figure out a way to get it up and down. Now, one of my original plans was to put a bar across the top right there, but there wasn't enough room for the ratchet. And the reason I used a ratchet binder, as you can see, the reason I used a ratchet binder was that I could raise it up and raise it down with the ratchet binder. There was another video online where a guy had put a bar and put a winch, like welded a winch on there. The problem is you can lift it up, but you can't control it coming down. So the other thing I have to do is you have to isolate these airbags right here. Now, the rear airbags and the leveler and everything else works fine back there. So what you do is you follow the air line, the supply line that comes to the airbags, which is this airbag here, and then put a valve. So I'm gonna leave that off right now until I lower the axle down. But the air is cut off to these airbags. As you can see, it comes in right there, goes over into this airbag right here. So I had to put a valve in. The next thing I had to do, let me crawl out, is you got to figure out a way to get the air out of the airbags once you get ready to raise it up. And this airline, let's see, this airline right here goes to my scale, and I'll show you what I did over there. So that's a little 1/4 inch line, and it runs over to my scale, which is right here. So that valve right there releases the air out of the airbags. So let me get my gloves on, and what I'm going to do is I have a dump valve for this rear axle back here in the tractor. So I'm going to hit that dump valve. That'll drop the trailer down and release all the air out of those airbags, and then it'll get that axle closer to the ground. So let me go hit that switch. So as you can hear, the airbags on the rear axle, the air's being released out of the rear airbags, which is those airbags right there. So give it a couple minutes and all the air will be out of there, and I'll talk to you in a bit. Okay, all the air is out of these airbags in the back there. If you look, you can see how they're pancaked down like that. And if you see how much further that axle dropped. So let's crawl under here. And so what I'm going to do now is ratchet down the axle with the ratchet binder and bring the axle down to the ground. Okay, we got that the chain off. You can see that's binder, and it's just a little piece of chain that I cut with the hook, and it hooks up to this plate right up in here. So axle's on the ground. Next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go close the valve right here. Now I left that open so that when I let the axle down, the air will equal out in the airbags. But now we're gonna close it up. So airbags are, that valve's closed, and now we're gonna open the air supply to the airbags. Let me crawl under here. So if you don't have that little 1/4-inch valve open, when you go to let down, those airbags want to suck in. That's why I had to put that valve on that line. So this is the air supply to the airbags. We're going to turn it on, and there it goes. So the airbag, whoop, there we go. They're just filling up with air. So, and you can see over here, all right, so those are full. Now we'll go back. Now the reason I call this the 4-man's lift axle is because you could crawl under the trailer. And the actual system that they have for the lift axle, there's a bracket that welds right there onto that piece, and it welds right there. And you'll see trailers have a little airbag, and those airbags fills up, and then that's what's lift up the axle. But I have maybe $40 in supplies, so you can see those airbags are filled up now. So the next thing I'm going to do is going to go air up the rear axle, and that's with the switch. So these airbags back here are still empty. So we got to go air up those airbags. And there's my switch for the rear airbags. Now that switch, it doesn't lift the axle up, it just releases the air out of the airbag. So now the rear airbag should be filling up with air, and everything's back to normal. So we'll come back under here so you can see they're filling up with air. Now we did not mess with any of the brake lines or anything like that, so we didn't touch the brakes or anything, and the brakes work fine with the air cut off over there, because all we did is cut off the supply air to the airbags. We didn't mess with anything on the brakes. So anyway, that's what I call my poor man's lift axle.